Kentucky and Georgia Tech are good teams. They're not elite teams. They're not going to come close to winning their conferences. 7-3 for Kentucky, as we mentioned. Georgia Tech, I believe, right now I believe they're 5-4. They missed a game early in the season because of the hurricane against Central Florida. So Georgia's going up against teams that they should win, that they will be 15 to 20 point favorites against, especially this Kentucky team. I haven't seen the line at home. I think the Georgia Tech game's in Atlanta against Georgia Tech, and that's always a tricky affair. Georgia's dominated the series, but in recent years, it's Georgia Tech's gained a few wins. So I think you're going to see the typical run-pass ratio because that's what Kirby Smart feels secure in and safe, is relying on the running game. But I think you may see what you're talking about if Georgia establishes 3 and 4 touchdown leads in these games, that the thought process is going to be thinking ahead to a rematch with Auburn or a game against Alabama in the SEC championship game, and needing to not just pass better, but pass protect better than what we saw against Auburn, and working on that against two decent teams in Kentucky and Georgia Tech. So this game's 35-10 in the fourth quarter. Georgia may not be throwing to rub it in. They're going to be throwing, I would think, to work on pass protection and work on the passing game to get ready for an SEC championship game.
I have to agree completely. I mean, it's just Georgia's offensive line that was probably, since the beginning of the season, the worst that they've played all year. And I mean, I love my offensive line guys. I mean, I love the trenches. That's where games are won. And I firmly believe that if they pass block better, that Georgia could have been more into the game than they were. I mean, the flea flicker play where Fromm absolutely had no time at all with a wide open Mecole Hardman down the field. I mean, if you had a second and a half longer, he could have made the pass and it could have been a different ball game. I think that inexperience, granted, I know we were 10 games in, but for most 90% of this offensive line, besides Isaiah Wynn, are first-year starters. Lamont Gilliard and Kendall Baker, Solomon Kinley, and Andrew Thomas all showed their inexperience against Auburn. So I think any kind of practice, any kind of momentum, or any kind of reps that they can take to get ready for the SEC championship game, I think Kirby will take advantage of that for sure.
All right, Savannah Lee Richardson, you can join her and the rest of the group there at Bulldog Illustrated for the very best in Georgia sports coverage throughout the year. And, of course, Georgia football right now is king. And the Bulldogs, don't forget about the Bulldogs. They've only lost one game, so we talk college football playoff across the nation, and even a couple 2-loss teams that are playing themselves back into it. So it's pretty simple from here on out. So it's not this situation where Alabama's undefeated, Georgia's undefeated, and what's going to happen if they both play and they're undefeated. Okay, that's gone, but it's simple. Georgia wins the SEC, they're in the playoff. So 2 games that they should win, but against decent opponents, Kentucky and Georgia Tech, can't look past them, and then an SEC championship game against the rematch with Auburn, or most likely Alabama. All right, Savannah, we appreciate the discussion. You have anything else for us?
I mean, not unless you want to talk about Georgia fans. I'm still loving on Mark Richt.
Yeah, what's that all about?
After the game on Saturday, going through Twitter, Facebook, and stuff like that, I actually noticed a few fans almost calling for Kirby's head, saying, we miss Mark Richt, our recruiting's going to implode because we lost one game. I'm just here to say it's time to get on the smart train, to trust the process, whatever you want to call it, because it's not just recruiting. Like I said before, Georgia has an opportunity to do something that they have never done, and that is to beat every single SEC East opponent, along with killing a since 2012 drought of going undefeated at home, and that's always so crucial to Georgia. They like to win at home, and especially as special as the senior group is, to send them out undefeated at home would be awesome. But what's funny is everybody's calling for Mark Richt to come back. Can Mark Richt come back? Can Mark Richt come back? But if you look at the scheme of things, if Georgia goes to the SEC championship and wins, and Miami goes to the ACC championship and loses, then the script completely flips. All these Georgia fans that were wanting Mark Richt back will be wanting to keep Kirby Smart. And I think that it's time to really look at it as this. You don't see Florida fans cheering for Urban Meyer at Ohio State. You don't see South Carolina fans cheering for Steve Spurrier. Why are Georgia fans continuing to hold on to Mark Richt? I think it's just time to, cut ties. It's great, he's doing a great job at Miami. I'm not saying that he was a terrible coach at Georgia. He put Georgia back on the map. All I'm saying is when he left and he got fired, it was the perfect opportunity to cut ties because Georgia had hit a plateau. I think that some of the older generation people are the ones that have seen the struggles of Georgia with Donnan and Ray Goff, and so that they kind of want to hold on to it. But it's time to let Kirby Smart take over and really just forget about the past because it's all about Georgia's future. My boss said that on the sideline against Florida that he heard one of the TV announcers make a comment, and he said that this is the worst Georgia team that we'll see in the next 5 years. And I think that's a huge comment to make because the culture has completely done a 180 from, good old Mark Richt, he's a good old boy, Georgia's the good old boys of the SEC East, to we are now contenders in the SEC, and it's only year 2 of Kirby Smart. So that's all I have to say about that one because I'm fully trusting the process, and I believe that Kirby is the right man for the job.
Yeah, I really don't understand what people are talking about. It's one loss. Everyone across the country at some point is going to lose a game. Not that no one's going to go undefeated and win the national championship. There's 3 teams still out there that could do that, but I mean, every coach is going to lose. It happens. Mark Richt has plenty of more losses ahead of him at Miami, despite what he's doing right this second. And the next one may come in the ACC championship game, as you mentioned. He'll be somewhat of an underdog in that game, but I would not be surprised that game going either way based on what I've seen out of Miami the last 2 weeks. They've been great. But I can't say that I understand that, considering I bet that most of those people that are pining away from Mark Richt were also kicking him out of town when he was losing 3 games a year. So I can't say that I really understand sports fans, and this is just the latest example.
I agree. I mean, Kirby, I don't know what more Kirby can do. He's beat Tennessee, Vandy, and Florida in the same season. I mean, has Georgia beating Florida in the largest margin of victory since 1982. I mean, I don't know what more Georgia fans want. I think this is the running joke between Georgia fans and, we can't ever have anything nice because we don't ever know how to accept, greatness, or we always try to, well, not we, but some Georgia fans always try to find the negative in things because they're always used to Georgia falling out of it or petering out, just kind of collapsing. And that's something that hasn't happened. So the fact that one loss has triggered that emotion, I just think it's comical as well. But I just wanted to throw some of those stats out there that Kirby's already doing in year 2. And it's pretty impressive to see considering this is his first head coaching job.
Yeah, I shouldn't have to say this. Things are fine at Georgia. They have one loss this season. They're going to be ranked in the top 5 when the college football playoff rankings come out tomorrow. They have recruited a great class coming in, as you well know, from 2017, and the classes that will be coming in 2018 and 19 should stack up amongst the best in the nation. Everything is fine there with Kirby Smart. He's done an exceptional job. They had one bad game. All right, Savannah, we appreciate the discussion. We will see you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.